On a bright and sunny afternoon, Emily decided to take a walk through the park. She was in the mood for some fresh air and to enjoy the gentle warmth of the spring sun. The birds were singing, and there was a soft breeze rustling the leaves of the trees, making it the perfect day to be outside. As she strolled along the path, her handbag swinging gently by her side, she suddenly noticed something unusual moving in the grass up ahead. "What's that?" she thought, squinting to get a better look. There, hidden among the blades of grass, was a small, furry creature hopping around. Its soft gray fur glistened in the sunlight, and its large round eyes stared up at her in what seemed like a curious way. "Oh, look, a little rabbit," Emily said to herself, her heart warming at the sight of such an adorable creature. She was always a fan of animals, especially rabbits, and couldn't resist the urge to go closer. She quickened her pace, eager to get a better look at this fluffy little creature. As she got closer, the bunny froze, staring at her with its big shiny eyes. Emily, who was already smiling at the sight, bent down and extended her hand to the creature. It didn't run away, which was unusual for a rabbit, but instead it seemed to wait patiently, like it was expecting her to do something. "Oh, you must be really friendly," Emily said with a soft laugh as she reached out to gently pet the little animal's head. But as her hand brushed against its fur, she noticed something odd. The fur was incredibly soft, so soft, in fact, that it was unlike any rabbit she had ever petted before. The texture felt almost velvety, and there was something about it that seemed more luxurious than the usual rabbit fur. "Wow, you're definitely a special little bunny, aren't you?" Emily said, puzzled. She leaned down even closer to get a better look, noticing that the creature's ears were much shorter than she expected for a rabbit. They were small, round, and almost stumpy. Emily furrowed her brow, unsure of what she was seeing. The creature looked so much like a rabbit, but at the same time, something was off. Suddenly, the little animal made a quick movement, hopping up onto her lap as if inviting her to take it in her arms. Emily laughed in surprise as she gently scooped it up, cradling the tiny creature in her arms. "Well, hello there," she giggled, feeling its soft, fluffy fur against her skin. But the more she looked at it, the more she realized something was definitely unusual. The creature's face was more round and less elongated than a rabbit's, and its eyes were darker, almost shimmering with curiosity. Emily's curiosity grew, and she began to inspect the creature more carefully. Her heart skipped a beat when she noticed the little animal's nose. It was much smaller and more delicate than a rabbit's, and it twitched in a way that made her pause. It was as though the creature was more used to being in close proximity to people than she had initially thought. "Wait a minute," Emily murmured to herself. "I don't think you're a rabbit at all." The more she examined the little creature, the more she realized it wasn't a rabbit, but something else entirely. It was a chinchilla. The little creature's fluffy tail and the short, rounded ears were clear signs. Emily couldn't believe it. How on earth had a chinchilla ended up in the middle of a park, hopping around like a lost rabbit? "Well, that's a surprise," she laughed, holding the chinchilla up to get a better look. She had always known that chinchillas were rare and exotic pets, but she never expected to find one wandering around in the park. "I think I've found myself a new friend," she said, still in disbelief. "I'm definitely taking you home." With the chinchilla safely in her arms, Emily began her walk back to her apartment. As she made her way home, she thought about how strange it was that the little creature had been alone in the park. Had it escaped from a home? Was it lost? Or had it somehow wandered away from a pet shop? Emily didn't know the answers, but she knew one thing for sure. This chinchilla wasn't going to be spending another night in the park. When she got home, Emily immediately began setting up a cozy little space for her new furry friend. She found a spacious cage and filled it with soft bedding, hay, and a small water bottle. The chinchilla seemed to be perfectly content, hopping around and exploring its new surroundings. Emily chuckled at the sight. "Well, Chester," she said after much deliberation on what to name the little creature, "it looks like you're going to be living with me now. You're going to love it here." Chester, as Emily decided to call him, was incredibly well-behaved. Over the next few days, he seemed to settle in nicely, enjoying the comfort of his new home. Emily did some research on chinchillas, learning that they needed special care, such as dust baths and a diet rich in hay and pellets. but she was more than happy to provide for him. She felt a strange connection to the little animal, like they were destined to find each other in that park. In the weeks that followed, Emily and Chester became inseparable. Every morning, Emily would wake up early to check on him, making sure he had everything he needed. Chester would greet her with his soft, high-pitched squeaks, and Emily couldn't help but smile every time. She had never imagined that her ordinary afternoon stroll would turn into such an extraordinary adventure. And so, what started as a simple misunderstanding, mistaking a chinchilla for a rabbit, grew into a beautiful bond between a woman and a tiny, fluffy creature who had somehow found his way into her life. Emily loved telling the story of how she had discovered Chester, and each time she shared it, she couldn't help but laugh at the memory of how she had first thought he was just an ordinary rabbit. Please subscribe on Glowing Stories for more videos.